Chris Dimino down in Atlanta. I remember we did our NL East weeks. He said, watch out for this team. They got a lot of young players. They're going to be fun to watch. Did he think it was going to be this soon for the first-place Braves, who were in town against the Phillies, who have been surprising themselves? Chris Dimino, 680 The Fan in Atlanta. He joins us now here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline with a little preview of tonight's battle for first place at Citizens Bank Park. Welcome back, Chris. What's happening, man?
I'm doing well. It's kind of nice to not do this just because they happen to be in the same division, but it kind of matters, if anything can really matter, in the third week in May.
Right. Well, we back in March when we were talking about the preview of this team, you said, look, they're young. They might be a year ahead of schedule. Are they ahead of being ahead of schedule? Is this a better Braves team than you thought they could be, even if they were ahead of schedule?
Oh, yeah. Look, I tweeted something last night after that win. I don't know how many people saw it, 6 runs in the bottom of the ninth. They hadn't done that in exactly 8 years. 8 years since they've been down 5 or more in the ninth and pulled a game out. So, everybody loves T-shirts or bumper stickers or slogans or whatever the hell it is. Funner Sooner 2018 tour. That's what it is. It's even sort of funner. And as a grown-ass man of 55, it's hard to use that word with a straight face. But it really is. It's been fun, and it's been more fun. And it was soon. It was a little bit sooner. And at the end of the day, this team, Alex Anthopoulos, the general manager, might have a decision to make at the trade deadline in 2018. And, quite honestly, there's only one group of people who would say they saw this coming, and those are called liars. That's the only the only people that would raise their hand and say they saw this coming would be bona fide liars, because nobody saw this coming right now.
So what are some of the key reasons why this is what it is? Is it, young guys? Is it the pit? Like in Philadelphia, for instance, the pitching has been outstanding. The offense is still pretty inconsistent. Kapler still gets his share of criticism, but the starting pitching has really been better than I think most. Nola's been outstanding. Arrieta's giving you something, but the Pavetta kid's been outstanding. Eflin's come up and been great.
Well, look, I read the numbers. 9 out of 10, what you guys did from an ERA point of view, was it the best in 67? There was a ridiculous thing that I read that, over a 10-game stretch, the ERA hadn't been this good in forever in 3 days. So that's sort of tangible. So I'll tell you what I believe I talked about in March. Eric Young came here, and they hadn't had really a run guy in a long time, a guy who actually was going to be in charge of, figuring out how to steal bases. And I knew for a fact, quick story, Ender Inciarte, a guy who had 200 hits, who was a leadoff hitter, he hit 9th, 7th, 6th, and 5th so far this year. That's been his hit leadoff, go to 9, go to 7, go to 6, go to 5. I don't know where he's going to hit in a given night. It looks like 5th. But on the second day that Eric Young talked to Ender Inciarte, after the first day of, hey, man, nice to see you, I enjoy your game, whatever the pleasantries are, he actually had a piece of paper. He said, let me see what this says. Oh, 201 hits. Oh, 22 stolen bases. Is that really what you are? And it planted the seed. And then it was Ozzie Albies. What do you think you can get? He said in spring training, 40 bags, 200 hits. Then all of a sudden, Ronald Acuna comes up and you go, well, if you're a five-tool guy, let's see one of the tools in running. So it's really been this effort to go get 90 feet whenever they can, and steal a base, take an extra base. Freddie Freeman scored on a pop-up, basically something that was 15 feet behind the shortstop from first base. He actually had a play yesterday that could have ended the game. He hustled down the line. They are not giving up anything. If you can get 90 more, take it. They've had more steals than anybody, I think. I think they might be caught stealing more than anybody. But what it is pitcher, catcher, infielder, outfielders all have to maybe think a little differently, and that part of it is tangible. Better defense, that gets off the bus as well. And when you don't strike out in a world where everybody's striking out, and you strike out actually less than the rest of the world, that gets off the bus as well. So there are real things. I just didn't think it was going to be this real 7 or 8 weeks into the season.
Chris Dimino with us, talking Braves baseball. And Chris, when we did talk to you, you mentioned Albies back in March when we talked about the potential for guys. I don't remember that you knew that Acuna at that point was going to come up. How much are these baby Braves, if you will, been a reason of this good start?
Yeah. So there was a moment yesterday where they showed the dugout when they were still down a couple of runs, and Albies and Acuna. And just think about this. You actually have, and I asked Mattingly on Saturday, I said, hey, Don, when was the last time you saw a 21-year-old and a 20-year-old hitting 1-2 in a major league lineup? And he got it. He looked at me and said, trick question? I said, I think so, because I don't really remember it. Ozzie Albies is going to be the most talked about 280 hitter in all of baseball. 280, because he doesn't walk enough. He doesn't bunt. He doesn't do any of those things. He's going to hit, I think, 280, but it's going to be the most exciting 280 in baseball because it's doubles, triples. He'll go take a bag if he has or has to. He'll score from first easily on a double. So there's something about him that's real. You know, extra base hits, it's an absurd number for a guy who's 5'6", 150 pounds, or whatever the hell he is. Those things are coming into play. Acuna, to me, is going to be a 275 hitter. Now, people around here get mad when I say that, but there really aren't guys who break out and hit 300. There just aren't. In a day and age when you don't want to take the bat out of their hand, and they don't want to change anything about these guys now, they don't walk enough, it's not a problem yet. At some point it might be, and you're going to have to fix it. But these guys are not 310 guys. They're just leading off. Ozzie Albies will ambush any pitch. First pitch of a – that's what they're doing. They're not down 0-1. They're not down 0-2. They're swinging before that. They're pitchers. One of the reasons, look, it ain't pretty in terms of names and resumes, but these guys have figured out that being up 1-0 on a count makes life a little bit easier, so they are attacking the zone more than I've seen in a long time around here.
Those are the young guys. On the veteran side of things, who would you say is having the more standout start, Freddie Freeman or Nick Markakis?
Markakis is more surprising. Look, he's a guy with 2,100-plus hits who's never been to an All-Star game. He, at this pace, unless he makes it this year, will set a record. He'll be the guy with the most hits to ever make an All-Star team, and that's coming in about a year and a half, I think. So whether he gets the Lifetime Achievement Award and some manager because the rosters are 35, he'll never get voted on. But he's playing better defense at his age than he ever has either, and that comes back to, again, some of the analytics, some of the things they told these guys. But it's Markakis, who's a four-hole hitter, by the way, who in his first 3 years getting paid $33 million here, he's in the fourth year of a $44 million deal, hit 24 home runs total. This is a corner outfielder, and I know I've sat here and said, what in the hell? I got a corner outfielder who doesn't hit more than 10 home runs. He had 24 home runs in 3 years, yet he's one of those gamers, veteran guy, doesn't say a lot. When he does, it matters. And all of a sudden, what you paid for the last few years is coming to fruition for this team right now.
So as you look at this matchup, too, the Braves 17-8 on the road so far. The Phillies really good at Citizens Bank Park. Maybe the difference maker is the Braves have that NL best 65-plus run differential.
Yeah, and they're as good as anybody in the first inning, and now close and late. Look, run differential is an indicator, no doubt about it. But I look at close and late. You know, what do you do close and late? They're 19-10 against teams with a better than 500 record. That's the best percentage in the National League. They were about to yesterday lose 2 or 3 to Miami, and they were going to be under 500 against teams under 500. And all of a sudden you look and you go, how the hell is that possible? Now, it's not a huge sample size, but you're a quarter way through the year. You've got to figure out at times what you are and what you do well. It was nice to find a way to get that win yesterday, and maybe it's a win that we talk about 2 months from now if it really matters. But going into Philadelphia up a game and a half it's kind of interesting. Like, neither one of these teams have been in this position where I play you, you play me, and at the end of the day, we're actually talking about who can be in first place at the end of 3 games. I kind of like it. I like the rivalry with Philadelphia years ago. You know, the Braves have bounced around. It was the Mets during the Chipper Jones era. It was Washington a couple of times. It certainly was Philadelphia. I like the Philadelphia part of it because I just think these 2 cities sort of have a little bit of something. It's, you know, I don't know if it's size. I don't know if it's the it's not really location. It's strange. Nobody, you know, going against New York is easy. New York, everybody wants to beat New York. It was fun. I, for some reason, like sort of the piss and vinegar that comes with Philadelphia being on the map and having these games matter.
We're talking with Chris Dimino here down in Atlanta. Braves are in town. And let me ask you, like, how much play is this series getting down there? Is it one of these things where it's May baseball, or is there some legitimate buzz?
No, listen, it's a great question. I think when you guys went out and spent money on Santana and Arrieta, everybody said, okay, look, Philadelphia is throwing a few more chips into the middle of the table in Atlanta, and that's true. If Jose Bautista is your big move, and after 12 games he's gone, then it's not really a big move.
Right.
You guys sort of, you know, you threw something in before Atlanta did. And I think everybody said, okay, that might put Philadelphia a little bit ahead now. Well, the Braves are saying, no, they're not ahead. I think you guys are waiting for Santana to actually start paying off the way that you hoped he would. But I kind of like the idea that both of these teams were in a rebuild, and it might be a little bit sooner instead of later, that it's not just the 3rd week in May, but it's the 2nd week in July, and it's the 3rd week in August where it matters. And I think both teams have enough tangible things where you go, you know what, this might actually be true. And I'm not kidding. For a guy who's from up in that area, for a guy who knew what everybody shooting for New York meant, whether it was the Yankees or the Mets or any other team, any other sport, I just thought the Philadelphia thing for a few years between Atlanta and Philadelphia was just different. It just felt a little bit different. Chipper owned the Mets, and that was sort of one of those where you go, oh, God, my guy's better than their guys. I think this is more the idea of who's going to get to the finish line first. And to me, the finish line is October baseball. It's not winning it all yet. It's getting to October baseball and getting enough people to believe. And look, I think we're both in the same situation, too, which makes it interesting. The big free agent purchase, is there going to be a guy that you have to convince that, yeah, we're going to give you the money, but you're going to come here and have a chance to win? That's what I kind of thought 2018 was for both of these teams. And so far, so good. I don't think there's a free agent you can go to who you couldn't sell an upside. They want your cash.
Yeah.
That is going to be king at the end of the day. But I do think there are going to be guys who go, you know what? Am I going to have an opportunity to have success individually, but also have success from a team point of view?
So, by the way, we're saying the Vegas odds. Pretty soon we might be saying the Atlantic City odds, by the way. Currently, you've got Braves at they opened 25-1. The Phillies opened 40-1. The Braves went to 100-1. The Phillies were at 40-1 on opening day. They are both currently 9-1 to win the NL pennant. So it seems like, Chris, that Vegas is buying into both these teams.
Yeah, so the Braves had 72 wins last year. I forget. Miami, nobody remembers Miami was second in the division behind Washington. Like, nobody. You want to go win money in a bar? Ask who finished second in the National League East last year. I swear to God, you leave them with more money than you thought. What was the Philadelphia win total last year? Do you guys know top of head?
No, not off top of head,
okay.
But what, they finished fourth?
So here's what I thought going in. The Braves had 72. You need to find 16 wins to even be in the conversation. What they've done so far now is 60 and 57 for the rest of the way gets them to 88 wins. Now, I'm not telling you bad luck might not hit you. I'm not telling you health is not going to be an issue at some point. But 60 and 57 seems so doable now. Like, that's a 16-game jump. If you're not changing a whole lot, you're just sort of adding young guys, or young guys are getting a year older. That's doing some work, but 60 and 57 is realistic. To get to 88 doesn't guarantee it. 90 would be a better number, but 3 games over 500 for the way that this team has played seems doable.
Phillies were 66 and 96 last season, Chris.
So you guys need what would be the amount, the equivalent of a 22-game jump. You got to find 22 wins to get to 88, which National League wild card over the last 7, 8, 9 years, that's a doable number. You're going to go down to the stretch. Some years maybe a tick more, but 88 is the place you probably have to start.
Chris Dimino, Braves and Phillies from the Atlanta perspective. Baseball in Philadelphia with 2 teams at the top of the division, getting close to June. It's a lot of fun. Chris, always a pleasure, pal.
Can I ask you guys one? Will you have enough money to buy any one player that you want? That's
I would assume. The Phillies haven't spent money since like 2012.
Yeah, they have closet fulls of it.
Right. So the cable deal and the idea that if they've been saving up a couple of quarters, they're in a piggy bank ready to be busted.
Oh, yeah.
Because Alex Anthopoulos on our station did say, and he told me this privately, he finally said it publicly, we will be in on any singular free agent that we want. Doesn't mean we get him. Doesn't mean we don't divide the money into 2 or 3. But he did say something Braves fans wanted to hear. We can get in on anybody.
Yeah.
That's a really big difference as to what's gone on around here for a long time, which maybe creates a little bit more excitement.
Well, Middleton now, with him kind of running the Phillies, as kind of they always had this army of owners. Middleton has kind of become the guy, and he's got all sorts. He's got buco bucks, and he's come out and basically said, yeah, we want to start spending. And there's been a lot of talk about Machado and Harper, that they'll be in that level of free agent, because they haven't spent any money since that 2018 kind of came off the books. They haven't done anything. Santana this year, but that was like a 3-year deal, and Arrieta was kind of a kooky 1 or 2 or 3-year deal, depending on how you want to look at it. So, yeah, they're going to be a player in free agency, no doubt.
Look, Hosmer went out to San Diego because it was like $144 million. He can tell me, and he'd be talking out of the side of his throat if he went there because he thought he was going to win. That can happen. But I've always thought that if you get the right guy who looks at the park and whatever the hell else he needs to, are you going to give me a chance to be in a national spotlight? The money's great. 1st and 15th is going to be phenomenal for my grandchildren's grandchildren. But I still think there's something about damn near every guy that says, will I get October at bats? And if I don't see October at bats, it's going to be a little bit harder, I think, to sign a piece of paper no matter what the number is.
Should be fun. Baseball in Philadelphia against the Braves. They don't play again until September, so this is interesting. Thanks, Chris.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Chris.
He appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline.